Welcome to Permission to Kick Ass, the show that gives you a virtual seat at the bar for the real conversations that happen between entrepreneurs. I'm interviewing all kinds of business owners, from those just a few years into freelancing to CEOs helming 9-figure companies. If you've ever worried that everyone else just seems to get it and you're missing something or messing things up, this show is for you. I'm your host, Angie Coley, and let's get to it. And welcome back to Permission to Kick Ass. Today I am very excited. It's a special treat for me. I would love to introduce everybody to my friend Sonya Paz. Say hi.
Hey everybody, how are you? Angie, thank you so much for having me. So exciting. Great to see you again.
Truly my pleasure. So the reason that I was saying this is a special treat is Sonya has one of my all-time favorite, happy memories in my head. We go way back to my early entrepreneurship days in Silicon Valley, back when I was first finding my footing as a copywriter. I got involved in some local business networking groups. Unsurprising to anybody, one of them was called Sassy Networking. And we discovered a lovely local karaoke night where Sonya and I became fast friends. And she totally won me over with her and her grown son's rendition of Lose It by Eminem.
Oh, yeah. My boyfriend, Eminem.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. So much fun in those days. So anyway, that's my big overarching rant for this. I was so pleased when you reached out and said that you wanted to be on the show. So yeah, take it away. Tell us what you do.
Oh my God, what don't I do? Yeah, well, thanks again. Yeah, no, karaoke, good times. Miss you. I haven't been there in a while. And so, yeah, we should meet up just for that.
Hell yeah.
So I'm a professional artist. I always say I sling paint for a living. I paint paintings. I used to have a gallery in downtown Campbell and Santana Row and around the San Jose Bay Area. I created my own product line. I have another podcast called Rockstar Mentor, where I have helped artists be fearless in getting their art out there. I have a jalapeño business. I have a art teaching business called Vino Paint, where I teach people how to paint in groups of, wineries and restaurants. And I also have recently launched another podcast called Investigated, where I have told the story of my childhood friend, her mother and her sister, who were murdered at the hands of the father. The story had always been pieced together in my mind a certain way. And I realized last year, after doing a TikTok for 8 minutes, that I ended up with over 55,000 views on that people want to hear the story. So in talking to my niece, she said, Sonya, don't be an episode. Don't tell the story an episode in somebody else's podcast. Do your own. And I went in, pedal to the metal, got my investigator co-host friend Marek, and we told the story in first season, 14 episodes on the Pearson family murders. And it felt cathartic, and it just has lifted off a lot of grief and it's added to a lot of healing, and it spoke to a lot of people. So yeah,
that's, I think, one of the most surprising benefits and takeaways that I've had from podcasting, and especially this kind of discussion format where anything is really on the table. It's we have a lot of room to just plop stuff out there, expose it to the light of day and fresh air, and then just let that shit heal. And hopefully that's helping other people just as much as it's helping me to be able to talk about this stuff with all my business buddies, right? The people that are listening hopefully get that healing time in too. That was not what I set out to do with the podcast, was heal a bunch of shit, but hey, there we go.
It's yeah, and with the podcasting, just the spoken voice, when people start just kind of talking about that, and it does wrap around into the whole business realm, because I think a lot of these experiences and journeys and adventures are, I always say life is business as usual, because everything I do, and much like yourself, everything you do is business related. And so, if it's storytelling or teaching somebody who's never painted how to paint before, can really help bring out inner things. And I learn a lot of these stories after people have told me. One woman who started attending my Vino Paint event said, I was in a bad accident 3 years ago, and I lost a lot of use of my left hand, and coming here has forced me and has really helped me therapeutically. And I'm not an art therapist, but, has helped her to really feel good about creating, because a lot of folks find it daunting and scary. And I break it down to where it's fun and energetic and, just to get, just, and I did it just for fun. I didn't realize it was going to actually speak to people. So
Mhm.
that's the winning part of this whole thing too.
Oh yeah. Well, and I find it funny too, because like you brought up kind of one side of the dichotomy of artists and business. One being that a lot of people who aren't or don't think of themselves as creative, right? They're probably creative, but they've got a mental dividing line between what creativity is and how they are creative. They think of it as scary and I can't do that and people are going to judge me. And then the flip side of that coin to me is also interesting because there's so much of out there the noise around you can't really make a business out of art. You can't be a creative in business. And I know that people aren't out there like shouting that from the rooftops, but it's definitely a very palpable undercurrent when you are a creative business person and you make stuff out of your head and your imagination.
Well, that's why I love the name of your podcast, Permission to Kick Ass, because when people say to me, well, for instance, when I was working at Adobe, I started there in 96. I was a QA engineer on Photoshop 4 back in the day. And then I ended up with just a few different positions over there. And then they had disbanded my group because we were in IS in 2002. And they had come around, telling everyone, the group is disbanding, and they were offering layoffs or whatever. And there was this one woman that came. I still see her face. She worked just in the other building at a different group, but she came by and said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. This is terrible." And I was painting part-time,
Hmm.
selling art on eBay successfully from 90, roughly like mid 99 through, well, probably till 2005. But this time in 2002, she said, "My gosh, what are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I've been painting part-time. I'm just going to go and do art." And she looked at me, Angie, and she said, "Oh, that's such a lovely dream, dear. But really, what are you going to do?" And I thought for a second, oh, yeah, well, that's what I'm going to do. Because I figure
Hmm.
if you got to jump in feet first. I do not ask permission to do things. I have, I did that when I was younger. I would get "oh, that's so cute. This is such a, what a beautiful dream, or what a cute little vision you have." But my thought is, no, I'm going to kick ass. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it on my terms. I don't ask permission to do anything in my business. In fact, people have told me over and over, "Well, you might want to, do a dry run or do a study group." There's I don't do focus groups for people that don't know me or don't know my product well enough to tell me if I should or should not do something. I
Right.
figure they're my lessons to learn. I'm going to go do it, and I'm going to kick ass in the process. So,
Right. It's
you
like they
know,
don't even know you. All right. So, like, to add further clarity to the karaoke thing that I mentioned at the beginning, I said that Sonya and her son did Lose It by Eminem. And what I meant by that is Sonya did all of the rapping. Sonya was Eminem. And her son literally came on stage and went, ah, 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 ah. That's it. That's it. So, like, anybody that has ever seen Sonya own Eminem on stage who thinks that you need to do a focus group to figure out what you want to do next,
I
oh
know,
my
I know,
gosh.
I know. So funny.
That's the impetus behind the show too, because like I've been working on unpacking this for probably the last 10 years. This cultural pressure of needing permission. And I still find myself doing this. I was at a mastermind in February a few months ago and was talking about some sort of strategy or another. I can't even remember. And I was like, I uttered the words, "Can I even do that?" And people said, hello,
Oh,
permission lady. Can you even do that? So like it's so pervasive and it keeps us playing so small and I freaking hate it. You don't need permission. There's nobody out there holding a black mark over your record telling you who can and can't be in business. Just do shit. See how it
right,
works.
right, right. I mean, and that goes for many aspects of not only business, but, just in life. And,
Mhm.
I surround myself around now, surround myself around positive, energized, encouraging people. Can't hang, sorry, naysayers and Debbie Downers. Good luck to you. I wish you the best, but I'm not going to be, I'm not, that's not the avenue I want to drive down or
Yeah.
so.
I agree. Well,
And
and you create your reality, and I don't think that we talk about that enough, right? I've tried to show it to other people, and I can tell that it's a mindset issue, it's an information processing issue. The people that get it are going to get it, right? But there's no one truth, there's no one reality, and to me, that's such an empowering thought because then that means I have power over what this reality looks like. Can I control reality for 8 billion people? No, but like I can control reality for Angie. And
Mhm.
Angie's reality doesn't look like desperation and everything is falling apart and it's like it's all crumbling down around us. That's not what my reality looks like. My reality looks like fun and rock and roll and karaoke nights and good time with friends and travel and food. That's the
Yep.
reality I've created for myself. And I drastically prefer that to doom and gloom.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I always, whenever I meet someone like that, my brain, I think, works a little bit different than most people. It works in, I have visual slideshows in my mind. So if I talk to somebody and I see that they're just like womp womp womp, I go to that SNL episode that Rachel
Oh,
what is her
Rachel
name?
Dratch.
Yeah, Dretch. That she it's like womp womp. That is what the slide is going on in my head, and I almost can't even focus because of all of the things flying
Mm-hmm.
around in my brain, and then I just think, yeah, and
Yeah.
I just will wish them well, and
Mm-hmm.
just keep moving. But
Oh, yeah.
but the lady that came to my office. So fast forward to like a year later, because that was in April of 2002. I hit the roads heavy. I started doing all of the art and wine festivals and hustling my art and excuse me, and getting it out there. So the following year, there was an event called Tapestry and Talent that was in downtown San Jose. They're no longer doing that now, but at the time, it was like one of the largest art and wine. And I'm not just talking like crafty shows. We're talking like curated artwork. It's not like here's a booth of fine art and then the person next to me is making finger puppets from recycled paper bags or anything. Not that that's bad,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a curated art show that was spoke volumes, and people would drive from all over, not only to be a participant but to attend. So she had come into the booth and she's like, oh, she looks up, she's like, oh, Sonya Paz, oh my god, oh my, here you are. I said, "Oh, hi, how are you?" And she's like, "Well, what?" She looks around. She goes, "What are you doing now?" And I'm very sarcastic, and I had to reel it in. I just said, "Well, you're standing right in it." And I
Mm-hmm.
had my 10 by 10 booth with lots of art, print bins, prints, and this was before we started doing a lot of the products like the watches and the pillows and all that stuff. But she was sort of like you could see the wheels moving behind her eyes, like, wow, well, wait a minute. Oh, this is,
Mm-hmm.
oh, so is this what you do for a living? You're standing in it. And, the art business people, and this is way before Instagram and way before all of us were, on Facebook and doing that whole social media stuff. Social media at the time was basically person to person, an
Mm-hmm.
email. That was kind of all the real tools we had back in 2002, 2003. And it's a hustle. It's a
Yeah.
hustle, but I would not have turned that in. I wouldn't have turned away from that for a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
It's who I am. I'm ADD. I'm hyper. I'm creative. I managed to work on 3 hours of sleep.
Oh, jeez. I turn
I,
into a nasty person on 3 hours of sleep. Like you don't. Happy go lucky Angie has plenty of naps and plenty of rest at night. And this is deliberate. Y'all don't see the no sleep Angie. That Angie cancels podcast recording day and says, I'm sorry, I can't bring it today.
yeah,
Well, you said
yeah.
something interesting about her walking into the booth, and that ties in so perfectly to the created reality thing that we're talking about. Because I'm not talking about magic imagination shit. I'm talking about real neuroscience, right? And talk about the cognitive dissonance that has to happen when you walk into it and you see it and you still can't believe that that
Mhm.
is something that's happening despite the evidence in front of your face. This is what it
Absolutely.
means to have like a closed mind and set perspectives on what is and isn't possible. Like, it's funny to me because I see that happen all the time. This is such a random example, but it's coming up, so we're going to run with it. When I walk Stella, my black cat, on a leash, and we're at like a rest stop or something on our travels, I can't tell you how many people come up and say, "Is that a cat?" No, it's a dragon. Wait, do you literally not believe the data in front of you? Do you think we're in the Matrix? And I'm like, pulling a trick on you? It's a cat. You can believe your eyes. You can look at the evidence right in front of you and see what's working. And that's, man, I just kind of wish I could go back in time to that lady and be like, you can believe the evidence right in front of you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I, of course, me, I'm, like in Glengarry, Glen Ross, ABC, always be closing.
Mm-hmm.
I spun it and just said, well, here we are, and everything's for sale, and it's always great to come out to the events and support local art. And she didn't buy anything, but
Oh,
I
jeez.
mean, but you know what? That's how to get people out of the booth, I guess, if you don't want them there. No, that's
Mm-hmm.
terrible to say. No, but it's always, I've got 10-foot by 10-foot space of prime real estate for these 3 days over Labor Day weekend. You're in my, your unbelief, thought process. You're crowding my space. Lose
Yeah.
it.
Get out of here.
Get
Well,
out
and
of
it's so
here.
funny. Like, I love your artwork. I used to live with a housemate. Shout out to Betty if she's listening to this, who collected your
Oh,
artwork. It's so bright and colorful and modern, and it's
wow.
fascinating.
Sorry.
Hmm.
Did you hear the phone?
A little bit, but
Oh,
he can edit that out.
sorry. I didn't want
No,
it.
it's
We
fine.
should probably clap. Wait.
We can hold on. Well, I'll explain it real quick, and then we can clap
Oh,
back
yeah,
in.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're
I just,
recording in.
sorry for that.
No, you're fine. We're recording in 2 tracks. So, like, if
Oh,
I'm talking and something happens in your back end, he can pull that out without affecting the audio. So,
okay.
there you go. All
Good,
right,
good.
we'll clap back in.
Sorry. I
Wait,
didn't, I
I
didn't
gotta
know
figure out
Zoom did that. Sorry. Okay.
what was I
I
talking
know.
about.
About people coming in into her coming into the booth.
Oh, the
Sorry.
Betty and the
Yeah.
artwork. Right. So
Yeah.
here we go. Hi, James. Thank you. Appreciate you. Yeah, shout out to Betty if you're listening to the show. So your artwork is so like colorful and modern, and it kind of reminds me of like Picasso in a way, because there's like
Mhm.
some fun and funky shapes and interpretation. It's unlike anything else that I've seen. And I know that you've probably had some people give like well-meaning feedback on what is or isn't good artwork. Can you speak to that a little bit more?
Oh my God. If I, I should write we should do a podcast based on things that artists hear in the workplace. So, I mean, okay. So I would love to embrace and hug everybody who has been supportive and has always come in either to the booth where I was doing that. I was with the Artist Guild of San Francisco. I had my own art gallery selling my own stuff. And to the gazillion billion people who would come in and just go, oh my God, this makes me so happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the takeaway, because my art is bright and colorful, and it is very Cubist inspired, which is Picasso style. It's people ask me, what style is this? I created my own style as far as I am
Mm-hmm.
concerned. I had people say, wow, like educators, like in high school or whatever, if the masters did this, the masters did that, you can't do this, can't do that. And I was that annoying kid, in the back, raising my hand.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do you know the masters didn't do that? I mean, does
Mm-hmm.
anyone write about that? Is there anything documented? And there's always be quiet, Sonya. Nobody's listened to you. No one cares to hear what you have to say. So I would always say my style is a mix of Cubism and American pop art, and I fuse
Mm-hmm.
them together. So I call it Cubistic infused pop. And, I did everything those art teachers told me never to do. Go figure. Maybe it's my age. Maybe it was the schools I went to. I don't know. But I mean, that's when I started teaching art, I wanted to teach it in a really encouraging way, because not everybody sees everything the same way. And just because I'm teaching you how to paint a flower this way doesn't mean if you beat to your own drummer or you want to go rogue, oh my God, as long as you're here and you got the paintbrush in your hand, have fun. But there are the people that have no filters who will walk in and will look around. And my gallery was 2,300 square foot. This was in downtown Campbell. It was a huge space with 20 high foot ceilings. I mean, it was big.
Hmm.
And I'll give you a link at the end. Anyone that goes onto my Facebook page can see the whole back then. That was 12 years ago.
Hmm.
But people would walk in and look around and at this big space and say, what's this? I have a thicker skin. Because I'm 5 foot, I'm not a big person, not, people always automatically think that I'm really, really frail. And my thing is bring it on, boyfriend. Come on, let's have a chit chat. And I'm the first one to come up and go, oh, hi, welcome to the gallery. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I wouldn't say my name at first, and my name was like all over the place because we had branded products and packaging and everything. So they said, well, I don't get it. Is this some sort of a gimmick? I'm like, well, I don't know what that means. What do you mean? And
Hmm.
I'd still be smiling and not in a condescending way, just out of curiosity. Because like, well, I
Hmm.
want to know, what do you mean? What is that? What do you mean a gimmick? Well, like, is this some pop-up store or is this, I mean, what is this? Is this art? Like, well, yeah, this art. What kind of art do you like? What kind of artwork do you gravitate toward? And I would just start doing these little qualifying questions just to
Hmm.
see what it is. And then I would do the ultimate little subtle, um, I don't want to say kind of gotcha, but I would just do the subtle, well, I'm Sonya. I'm the artist. If you have any, look around. If you have any questions, I'm happy to
Hmm.
answer. Or the more subtle one was, well, when I create the paintings, this is what inspired me here, and this is what inspired me there. Da 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 da. And they would be like dead in their tracks.
Hmm.
Oh, you're the artist. I'm like, yeah, I'm Sonya. Welcome to the gallery and have a look around. And I mean, I don't have time to be. I mean, I know artists that would just literally would bury their face in their hands and run off
Hmm.
crying, and or would get very defensive about, well, yeah, how dare you talk that way about my creations? My thing is,
Hmm.
you're in here and you're asking questions, so I'm happy to answer the questions. I'm not going to be dissing all over you. I mean, if and I've never had anyone basically come in and say something awful like, "Holy shit, what the f is this crap?" I mean,
Hmm.
I mean, it's just been more curious type of things.
Yeah.
No one, knock on wood, no one has ever been that awful. But I just would answer it with grace, and I want people to feel like that was cool. That was really cool.
Hmm.
I went in and kind of dissed all over this person's art and they were nice to me. Well, shit, and I've had people buy from me after
Hmm.
that. Maybe not a, you know, $2,000 painting, but this one guy I'm thinking in particular was sort of like, oh, we got to chit chatting 15, 20 minutes later. He goes, oh my God, I have to buy something from you. And he bought like $12 worth of magnets or whatever. But the fact was is that if you approach it in that same negative space, it's not going to end pretty. You're not going to feel good about yourself. They might
Yeah.
talk some smack about you or whatever. My thing is, educate people and yeah, it
Yeah.
turned into a customer. It was $12 or no, it was yeah, $12 that I didn't
Oh,
have.
yeah.
So, you know, but
I love that.
people like to meet in the artist thing is people like to meet the artists. I'm a
Hmm.
fan of art. My husband and I collect a lot of art in our home. It's all over the house and it's very eclectic. The things, I mean, from strange, macabre, and bizarre to, big, colorful, bright pieces, from all over the world. I mean, I'm not a name brand collector. I mean, there's a couple of collectors who are really well known, like Mark Ryden
Hmm.
and uh oh my gosh, Sonya Paz. No, like
Oh
Mark
gosh.
Ryden and Ivan Earl. And I mean, my mind's going to a blank right now, but there's so much artwork that we collect that is just, it's eclectic. And people who come over are really amazed by it because of the way it's presented. And
Mm-hmm.
and that when we're anywhere in the house, we appreciate it, we enjoy it. And there's a story, not only to the artwork itself, but there's a story on why we collected it or what, gravitated toward purchasing a piece.
Oh, I love that. When I work with people, there are a lot of people, and if this is you listening, again, I hold you in my heart with no judgment because I know deeply how this feels. For now is not forever. If you are making a choice to explore something, if an idea sounds interesting and you want to try it, but you're a little overwhelmed, just try it. There is nothing in there that is obligating you to stay. And this is what I think was really interesting about your decision to walk away from the gallery too, is like
Mhm.
you didn't look at other people's expectations, like obligations, how you quote unquote should be doing things. You just went, all right, that chapter is closed. I'm going to process that. I'm not going to pretend like there's no feelings walking away from something like that when it's been such a huge part of your life. But like getting
Right.
curious about that chapter's over. What can I do next? What else am I going to do? It all ties together so beautifully. Like you're not obligated to
Yeah.
do anything, and for now is not forever.
Right. This is my circus. I'm running it
Mm-hmm.
how I feel see fit.
Sonya
Well,
the ringmaster.
yeah. Give me the whip. Woohoo. Yeah, I know a lot of artists. And when I started my business in expanding the gallery into downtown Campbell, I there was a lot of personalities, and there was about 9 other artists. So it was really great. And we all worked together to come up with these Third Friday art walks and all these different types of fun, artful things to do. And as people, yeah, I ended up being the last man standing. I was the last gallery there by 2012, but I was shifting and changing within that too. And some of the other places there were just sort of like, oh, well, I would never do that, or I can't do that. My collectors, if I was to have a sale like that, all my other collectors would be just devastated. I'm like, well, then you're missing out because your collectors would be grateful. So there's the mindset, and I don't think that's just art related. It's with anything, and well, I can't do that because that's you thinking, or maybe overthinking, or maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
egos. I don't know. I'm not that.
Ego, fear, like I saw, and a shout out to a man named Alan Satanic, who's very, very smart. He posted this prompt the other day that like set me off on a rant. I actually wound up posting the rant, but it was like, who would I be if I wasn't? Right? And insert afraid of what people think of me if I wasn't, like whatever that blank is, and then actually sit and think about it. And I think that was one, because I still struggle with this. Who would I be if I wasn't afraid of what other people thought of me? Right? And I wouldn't tie my worth to any one decision, and I would give myself freedom to experiment, and I wouldn't tie my worth to people, and the people that I help in particular, to the amount of money that's in the bank or the amount of money that I'm generating, because businesses have up periods and lean periods. Like that's just the nature of this. Are you in it for the work that you're trying to do, or are you in it for the dollars in the bank and the reputation? I'm in it for the work that I do and the impact that I hope to make for the long term. So,
Right. And the people that you're helping.
yes.
I mean,
Yes,
you're
yes.
helping so many people. I mean, with the work that you do and with the podcast, is people are listening, and they're listening because they want to learn something. They want to meet and understand the people, like in my case, behind the paintings, or the people
Mm-hmm.
behind the logo, or the people behind the writing, or whatever talent. And those are actual voices. We're not scripted here. You didn't tell me, hey, Sonya, say this. This is the message you have to give. These are true, um, you know, raw feedback. And I don't even say it's feedback, it's experience. And when I make the carnival reference, it's sometimes I used to always say, okay, we're on this wild ride. Get a seat and get your seatbelt on because it's wild. And that because, and I do believe it takes us this. Well, I was in retail. So with the gallery, it's retail. That's an animal that's an animal to wrangle. But I've done it all with the whole art business, from being a manufacturer to an artist to designing the packaging to taking the, my husband Mark, when we were doing the watches, says, okay, I need the watch face that we're working on is going to be this, specific size. So I need you to create a piece that's just for this. And sometimes I would say, no, I don't like that, or I don't feel that this is, I need one with your cubic faces. I need one with a mod floral. I need one with a bottle of wine. And then we would have to, I would draw them out. And if I just didn't feel that it was the right vibe, I would say, no, that's not going to work. But it was a collaborative effort. But with everything that's just involved in it, so many moving parts, it's, like I said, my carnival, my journey, and to the lady and to the naysayer, the person who didn't believe in me or thought that working in corporate was the only thing to do. It's, you're missing out. You're missing out on so much, and it's like I said, you got to ride the wave and be fearless. I mean, you kind of got to look at what have you got to lose?
Exactly.
I mean, are you talking billions of dollars? Are you talking millions of dollars? Are you talking $10? A lot of the stuff is just your time. Okay. So if you try to create this work plan and it's time okay, so you're looking for a job, work on this thing on the side, update your LinkedIn, start following people that you want to be associated with. Start listening to podcasts that you want to be inspired by,
and reach out and have conversations with those people. Like, don't sit back in the shadows and hope that they notice you, because just like you, they're distracted with their own lives and everything that they've got going on. Like, nobody's going out of their way to go like, who can I pay attention to? Right. There are some altruistic people out there, right? But that's the exception, not the rule. Generally speaking, everybody's preoccupied with their own shit. They don't notice you unless you make yourself be noticed. And I've had people reach out and send me such wonderful messages about the show and the guest. And so, like, I respond to every single one of them and tell them,
right.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Because that just, I'm going to go on a slight rant here too, but like,
oh yeah,
creativity, creativity is so important. It's inspiring. You mentioned it earlier with like all the artwork in your house that inspires these stories and these conversations. What is that? Human connection in a nutshell. We relate through stories. We relate through beautiful things. And creating a show like this, creating artwork, tell me if you feel the same, but sometimes it feels like shouting into the void. Like I'm just creating stuff and throwing it out there and I have no idea how it's resonating with people. So when somebody takes time out of their busy day, that is not lost on me. I see that as like the highest sign of respect. If you took 2 minutes to write in or to come up to the artist and say, oh my gosh, I really love this painting. Would it like ask questions and get curious about that? Oh my God, you're making such a difference just by giving a shit and reaching out and telling people that you give a shit. Like, it's so important. Talk to people. Yeah. It doesn't have to be like we became instant soulmates and we went really deep. Just reach out and tell people that you appreciate what they're doing. It makes a difference.
Oh, right. And get conversations started, because I mean, people coming into the gallery and walking in and go, how much is a piece like that? Well, I'm not going to go. And I mean, price is right there, but my thing is, oh, this is a great piece. What about it speaks to you? So that's getting a conversation started. It doesn't take much. It's just, and you're getting to know someone, do you collect a lot of art presently? You're asking questions. They're not threatening questions. They're questions so you can kind of get to know what is your, what's your mind, what their mindset is. And that goes with anything. If someone says, hey, Angie, I need this work done. I need this writing done for this project, blah, blah, blah. How much are you going to charge me? Well, of course, you're going to ask, what's the project? What's the scope? All the qualifying questions. And I think that just goes on in life, just, getting to know new people and things like that, and building relationships. So. Yeah.
Absolutely. And like the theme of this episode seems to be just like curiosity and trying things. Because I have had people ask me like, how much do you charge for X? And I go, Okay, cool. Well, I need to get a little bit more information before I can give you something that's accurate, right? Otherwise, everything I throw out is going to be just a wild, extreme ballpark from one end to the other that's not going to make any sense or be helpful at all for planning. So I have a few questions, and I've had some people like push back and be like, "Ugh, I don't want to answer questions, blah blah blah." And I tell them like, with all the love in my heart, how much is a house? I need some information, right? Like, just a little bit. So otherwise a house could be, I don't know, the $1 that you pay in Italy for the houses that are falling apart, or
Yeah.
the €1, or it could be 2 million in the Bay for a shack that's falling apart, right?
Mhm.
I need some information. And so getting curious instead of being like, well, this is a jackass that just doesn't get it. Of course they don't get it. That's why they're hiring you. Get curious instead of judgy.
Right. And then it helps you weed out the tire kickers too.
Yeah.
You know,
That's true.
and
Yeah,
make
because
them do a little work.
if they don't actually have anything planned and they haven't thought about it yet, then like, okay, well, you're probably not ready for this if you can't answer these basic questions about whatever your project is. But yeah. Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
I want to go on that rant for like 2 more hours, but instead I'm going to say, so you've been a fantastic guest. Thank you so much for reaching out and asking to come on the show. I'm so happy to reconnect. Tell us more about your business, all of your businesses, and where
Oh
we
my
can
God.
find you.
Well, and I'll send you all the links in the show notes. But in short is so sonyapaz.com is where y'all can see my artwork. I have a very comprehensive website. It has original work, jewelry, and products that we create. We do a lot of those creations in my studio here in the Central Valley in California. And then if you're interested in learning how to paint or create, I have vinopaint.com, which is we do virtual events as well as live in-person events, which I'm doing more virtual events now. I also have Sonya Paz Creative, which is courses that you can do on your own time. You don't have to be in the class or whatever, and that you supply your own supplies. I have Sonya's Sweet and Spicy, which is my jalapeno business, which I started when I moved to the Central Valley almost 8 years or about 8 years ago, and learned how to do canning and came up with this really fabulous recipe. So that's that. And then Rockstar Mentor is my podcast, which I started in 2016. But I have 130 episodes, but I haven't recorded anything new in a couple of years because we had a lot of family stuff going on. But last but not least is my podcast called Investigated, about my childhood friend who was killed with her mom and sister. And it is just when you thought the murders were the only thing, talk about get your seatbelt on. It's a wild ride. I cover everything to do with this case because it's personal to me, because it was my friend that was murdered. And I interview the prosecutor that tried this case back in 1978, the law enforcement on the front end of the case, the back end of the case. I talk with the main witness who helped the guy clean out the house after he killed the family. And I mean, it's an incredible story. I'm really, really proud of it. And so, yeah.
Awesome.
So if anyone that likes true crime, it's really, really awesome. So yeah. So yeah, just when I didn't think I had any more time for anything, but it was a labor of love, and it's certainly a story that needed to be told on behalf of the victims because they never got to have their say.
Exactly. It's important work to share these stories, and that's human connection, right?
Yeah.
So powerful. I'm going to make sure that there are clickable links in the show notes. Thank you so much again. We're going to have to do this again.
Oh my God, Angie, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad I reached out. I thought, gosh, am I worthy to be on the podcast?
Yes, absolutely.
But I went to the manifesto. I'm like, oh, girlfriend, I can do this. This is great. I really enjoyed it. Of course, always love to hear you, and always lovely to see you. So thanks again.
That's all for now. If you want to keep that kick-ass energy high, please take a minute to share this episode with someone that might need a high-octane dose of "you can do it." Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the Permission to Kick-Ass podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you stream your podcasts. I'm your host, Angie Coley, and I'm here rooting for you. Thanks for listening, and let's go kick some ass.